Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of the Dan Dawson Show. So let's continue our liberal education campaign, our liberal annoyance campaign, or whatever you want to call it. And so I don't want you to be too hard on your liberal friends if they don't quite get what's going on, because this is how it's been framed to them. This is from CNN, Chris Cezella, editor at large. And I'm assuming he's in New York. The first thing I want you to ask yourself as I'm reading this article to you is, why are liberals so concerned about what's going on in Texas? Because Abbott and the Texas and Florida, Abbott and DeSantis are acting as beacons of freedom. What they don't want you to realize is you have freedom is guaranteed to you in the Constitution. Actually, it's not even guaranteed to you. It just says government can't take your freedom away. So let's go ahead and check this out. Someone needs to remind Greg Abbott he is a conservative. Pretty sure he knows. On Monday, a governor issued an executive order that banned every entity in his state, including private businesses, from requiring anyone to have the COVID-19 vaccine in order to return to work or keep their job. Who would engage in such a sweeping assertion of the government's authority to tell private industry how to behave? None other than Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a man who fashions himself not only as a conservative, but a potential 2024 candidate. I'm going to break this article down as I read through it. So here's what you have to understand, right? It's also Republicans that made racial discrimination illegal. And I'm pretty sure in the 60s, 70s, some liberal-leaning Democrat also took the same position. Let's read on. The COVID-19 vaccine is safe, effective, and our best defense against the virus, but should remain voluntary and never forced, Abbott said in a statement explaining his executive order. But wait, you say, are Republicans like Abbott and the party that holds as one of their core beliefs that government should not intrude in individuals' lives, that the government that governs least governs best? And following that logic, Abbott telling private companies what to do is literally the exact opposite of that governing philosophy, right? Right. How did we get to this point? And how can Abbott justify what would be seen as a massive government overreach if a Democratic governor had done it? The answer lies in the politics of our moment, where the enemy of your enemy must be your friend. Senator Joe Biden issued a vaccine mandate for federal workers and companies with 100 employees or more last month in an attempt to up the number of people vaccinated in an effort to mitigate the Delta variant of the coronavirus ravaging through the country's unvaccinated population. So, number one, that's a lie. The virus is ravaging through vaccinated and unvaccinated. You are lying. You're wrong. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us, Biden said at the time. Well, let's go, Brandon. So Abbott's saying you don't have to put something in your body that, one, it's only been out a few months, and you don't know what the long-term side effects are because nobody does. But places like Europe, because this has been banned to kids under 12, in France, because it's creating heart enlargement. And we've even seen cases here where kids' hearts are being enlarged. So Abbott's saying you don't have to do this. And no company can make you do this. It's government overreach, but Biden saying you have to put this experimental drug in your body. It's overreach. It's ridiculous. Abbott is then trying to cast himself as a warrior for individual rights by, get this, telling privately held businesses what to do. It's a remarkably unconservative thing to do, justified solely by the taste the Republican base feels for Biden and his administration. Well, it's like I always say, it's got a pendulum effect, because Democrats did the same thing to Trump. As soon as Biden took office, he still to this day is trying to get rid of everything Trump did, even though they were working. From a purely conservative standpoint, it makes zero sense using the government to regulate behavior of individuals as a way to counteract using the government as a way to regulate the behavior of individuals is a real doozy. This isn't math. Multiplying two negative numbers doesn't get you a positive number. Actually, yes, you dumbass, it does. When you multiply two negatives, they become a positive. You're a dumbass. -3 times -3 is +9. Dumbass. Oh my God. Okay, so I had just read some of this and I'm reading this, and this guy is really, really an idiot. But this is what ambitious Republican governors have been reduced to as they chase the ever-elusive party base, which remains fiercely loyal to the whims and provocations of former President Donald Trump. See, there you go. That's one of the big things. Liberals can't even write a single article about the facts, about Abbott, write one about DeSantis without mentioning Donald Trump. They can't do it. See, and there's a reason they can't do it, because you can't justify Joe Biden saying, we must mandate this. If you have over 100 employees, you have to get the vaccine. You got to mandate them to get the vaccine, or we're going to find you. That's government overreach. You know what government overreach isn't? Said, hey, companies, you can't not hire Dan because he's black. Hey, you can't mandate that because Dan isn't a Christian, he can't be hired. That's protecting the individual, which is what these liberals don't get. They don't care because they're just talking their talking points. This is one of the most ridiculous articles I've ever read. CNN is a trash news work. I'm surprised they're still in business, honestly. You also saw that 40% decline in viewership. But this is what, no, Abbott's order isn't even in the ballpark of modern conservatism. Rather, it's a virtue, signaling to a Republican base that will lap up whatever appears to be anti-Biden, whether or not it makes any sense as a piece of Republican or conservative dogma. It's quite literally the opposite of the sort of conservatism on which the likes of Abbott have built their career. So that's the end of the article. And you can see, I see it, how they're framing things, right? Because the average person who's going through this, or the average liberal who's going through this, is gonna be like, yeah, Abbott, no, he's forcing people. He's not forcing anybody to do anything. He's telling companies, you can't force people to do this. But see, every time there's been a good piece of legislation against discrimination, it's come from the Republican Party. Except for maybe LGBTQ, which that usually comes from the Democrat Party, the SJWs. But Abbott is doing the right thing here. You can't force people to put something in their bodies that they don't want in their bodies. One thing I've seen is most people have compared this to abortion. Well, if government can't tell you what to put into your body, blah, 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 what about abortion? It's not the same thing. The correlation would be if government forced women to have abortions, right? That's the correlation, not disallowing abortion after a certain time. The government came out and said, we don't care if you're 8 months pregnant, because if you didn't meet this criteria, that criteria, you must have an abortion. That would be a direct comparison. Simpletons don't get it. You got to understand, a lot of our liberal friends are simpletons. They don't get it. So I say, go Governor Abbott. I'm probably going to start calling him President Abbott here in a minute, because he's just killing it. So like, subscribe, share, and as always, do what you got to do.